An opening of the heart is a must, absolute must. You cannot live. It's, in a way, being established at the level where also from that giving it to the esoteric language, giving it that more clinical language, but so that you can have clarity of understanding. Opening of the heart heralds maturity of the witnessing state. Witnessing state of consciousness is experienced already at the heart level.
Yesterday I really thought about you ask again why you are here right now. And I thought about it and it was not, I could not really bring it in form, but maybe if I tell you, I think I came here because since Soundstorf, really my heart opened. And I mean, in the Sangha, I feel kind of safe, but it's so hard for me to live on this level of the heart because I feel naked all the time. Wherever I go, I can even feel the heartbeats of other people. And yeah, it's really hard. I think that's why I'm really here, what it's really about, to learn to live with this. I feel kind of fragile, yeah, really. And yeah, I really don't understand it. How can I be how I am and who I am in every minute? And on the other side, I feel like I have to protect. And yeah, I mean, my life was not as easy before, and I created a lot of roles where they function perfect. I can be the entertainer or the warrior, whatever you want it. But this really soft and opened, I don't know, it feels like I have my heart on this kind of tablet and could serve it everyone in every moment. It's really hard, and I have no clue how it works with my daily business, with my life, with my daughter, with going shopping. Yeah, yeah.
So you want to understand how this all fits together, right? You want to have reassurance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And before we go there, how does that make you feel existentially by yourself? Let's say fears aside, let's say when you don't need to go out, when you don't, where like simply, how does it feel have the heart open? What's
Kind
your
of essential.
internal experience?
Yeah, it's essential. It's like I feel me myself. I feel home. I feel right. It's, yeah.
So would you say, because I don't want to put words into your mouth, I don't want to, neither do I want to draw them out in a specific way. It's not the point. I just want also for you to be able to see for yourself, so that then we can see all the pros and cons, as it were, right? So does that make you feel more joyful inside, more free,
Yes, more free.
right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or do you prefer how you felt before the heart was opened?
No,
No,
definitely not.
definitely not. I wanted to hear that from you. Because it's very important to acknowledge that within, is that in the evolution of our consciousness, opening of the heart heralds a very important phase. Still a phase, but a very important one. This can be spoken in classical and clinical terms, why that is, as it were, from the point of view of esoteric anatomy. Because heart represents here as that heart center, the mobile element of air. So where consciousness feels free for the first time. In other words, the opening of the heart in its association with where the heart is, that heart center. It's the most mobile element before ether, air. So therefore, opening of the heart is accompanied by a sense of freedom. We can fly everywhere. It's accompanied by tangible experience of freedom, not being confined. But at the very same time, it's also very well known as being a vulnerable phase. It can be very sweet, depending on some, perhaps other factors of which we can talk in addition. It can be very sweet, blissful in other words. It can be so sweet that one would forget everything else. Like literally. The sweetness it provides fills everything. No sweet required in the mouth. No chocolate, no bonboni, no external sweetness, because already it gives that sweetness from within. And because of that, it often feels as one wants to remain there, providing one is not burdened by responsibilities. Because when there are responsibilities, when we are placed in a position when we need to be responsible for others, not just ourselves, it begins to impose these dilemmas of how to balance the acts. So first of all, I want you to understand that it's not how that is it. It's a phase, beautiful phase to be enjoyed, to be fully given to. But there are, of course, ways of how to be when the heart opens. So as A, not to somehow follow perhaps some of the fears that may rise inevitably, which may contribute to impediment of that beautiful phase. If the heart, I would say, wide opened, then you can't shut it. It's almost like past a threshold. And there are even tantric ways of speaking about it, yogic way, that Kundalini's rising is unstable until it reaches the heart center. When it reaches the heart center, it's stabilized. Why? Because it reaches the mobile center, and if it opens the center, because also not all awakening lead to the opening. It can come, as it were, and then there is also a place, another pericarp, the granthis. Are you familiar with the concept of granthis, right? So the Vishnu granthi here, if it's not pierced, then it would be at the entrance to the heart and cause that pressure, continued pressure, even physically sometimes feels as a pressure. When you eat the meal and it hasn't been digested, it causes this heartburn or kind of pressure, diaphragmatic pressure up. It can be experienced psychologically. It's as if one wants to, but it's not quite. But if it passes through the threshold, the heart simply opens, because this is the force of prana now is activated at that level. And it then begins to dismantle the area which is associated with accumulated emotions, feelings. So if this is accompanied by sweet experiences, then one would be prompted to indulge and remain there, you see? Because it's so sweet. This is what I said, like honey sweet like. But if it's not, if then the spinning begins to bring out the accumulated stuff that basically heralds the purification, then it would be accompanied by perhaps fluctuation from blissful experience to sadness, like this wonderful opening, and then this nostalgia, this sense of like something losing grip on reality, like something is like my hand, like I cannot hold it anymore. It's not right. It sounds familiar, no? So this is because it's still releasing that. At the heart level, it's releasing the content of feelings, emotions. This is where the pranas is the most active. It is more active at the level where the pranas gather there, down there, the kanda. Your Kundalini course, right? You know this, right? So where all the nadis spring forth, all the principal nadis. But it is at the heart where the prana reposes, withdrawn. So it is the area which is, as it were, where experience is supposed to get laid at rest in a deep sleep. This is where it repeatedly gets deposited, as it were. That what we cannot deal with would be naturally gone under the unconscious, what we call unconscious level. That what remains still available to the conscious level will be dealt with as in a waking state. We will reflect on that, we will ponder on that, and somehow metabolize this experience. But when the heart opens, the work begins. So this fluctuation of sadness could be extreme sadness, really being sad for no reason, not knowing what one is sad for. Why am I sad? You would not be able to tell why. It may be universal sadness, or it could very easily get associated with something which is close to you by virtue of whatever connection that is. And immediately it will kind of create that trigger response, like, which will make you feel in a certain way. But it's a phase. Know that it's a phase. So that an opening of the heart is a must, absolute must. You cannot live. It's, in a way, being established at the level where also from that giving it to the esoteric language, giving it that more clinical language, but so that you can have clarity of understanding. Opening of the heart heralds maturity of the witnessing state. Witnessing state of consciousness is experienced already at the heart level. So there is this witness. So you probably notice now how you remain witness to all activity. You are aware of everything that is taking place, right? So therefore, this is a prerequisite. The heart opening is the threshold and prerequisite. We cannot bypass that territory. We cannot bypass that. It's very important. But that's not where the journey terminates by no account. This is not where you will remain. So you simply need to learn how to manage yourself. And I reassure you that you are capable of doing that. So you just know as a flower. And remember exercises we did? Were you with us at the Good Sound stuff with it? These exercises were brought out specifically because I felt it's time to bring this exercise because it's become more and more common, so we can work with the heart now. We bring this out, this secret, dim secret methodologies. So you work with the heart flower. You have this capacity to, when you know the climate is nice, warm, tempered, sun, and like that flower, you open and show yourself fully. And there's exchange and interchange of energies. Your heart emits that warmth and openness. As you have said, you can serve it. I so understand how that, the limitation of the language, what a brilliant metaphor. You can serve my heart, or like wearing your heart on a sleeve, they say, not quite there. And then, as soon as you feel that, it becomes breezy, this draft, this kind of, the sun setting, you close your flower. You see? You close your flower. The flower is still there. You're not closing your heart. You see? Closing the petals does not amount for closing the heart. So when you go somewhere, when you're going through the airport, through the checkup, where you're going through a lot of these public places where this like kind of almost you need to have your wits about, it's not a walk in the park with the dear friend. It's better to bring the focal point of attention on other matters. So you bring that consciously, you see? You bring that consciously simply as a gesture even, as an internal gesture. Not that you're closing your heart. You can't close your heart, you see? And then there is less propensity to being exposed to all these energies that you become sensitive now, acutely sensitive. In some cases, it could bring about changes in the way you work and the way you with some people, they become, the gifts open, because sometimes the gifts come at that time as well, these gifts of clairvoyance, clairaudience, some kind of, let's say, psychic gifts, gifts of healing, gifts of intuitive response to a situation. And again, as we have just spoke earlier, I would not turn it into an enterprise unless there is a strong propensity and you feel that that's what you ought to do. So you steep on that, you see into that, ask the universe for give me the guidance, give me the sign. If that's the right thing to do, I want to have a clear green light. Please, Mother, guide me. Or Father, whichever gender here is simply relational, whatever the connection you already made. If you were closer to your father, you will relate to the Godhead in that way, because that's the order of things. You see? Always. First comes the mother, maternal mother, then comes God. If we have no respect for mother, nothing can be respected in the divine world. It works this way. So this will give you insights, provide you insights because of that intuition. And if you feel that being somehow thrown in situations where there is this absorbing some energies, you just reduce that exposure. Simply reduce that exposure to the places, even, forgive me, people.
Yeah,
I had to become very discriminate. Even some of the people who kind of like, gosh, I'm cutting away from my friends. But it's not that, you see? It's this has to be accompanied by clarity. When the threshold is passed and then another level is gained, let's say there are other openings, see? When, let's say, the command center is activated fully, then you become in charge of all your states. You can be in a state you want to be. You recognize them to be all the same in terms of they lead by the same light. Light, which is the light of your own awareness. What hue they take is secondary. Then no psychic material can interfere. But at this stage it does, and it is very well known. I had to minimize exposure. I still had to fly. It's the worst thing was to go into that whole experience of airports, these public places, large supermarkets. You see, this, like, I would get lost, you know? So you just minimize that exposure. That's all. And so as not to feel lonely, you know, that's why there's Sangha. Because we cannot do this work alone in this day and age. Some of us, yes, may be born that way, right? That loneliness is a quality of Superman, Superwoman, power. You know, retreating, in fact, to be completely alone where the power is gained. Not feeling isolated, not feeling lonely, actually feeling empowered by being alone. But for majority of us, this is not the case, so we should not lie to ourselves so that we seek like-minded people, and there's nothing wrong about it. And then again, ask your heart, you know, connect. If this connection is, am I safe here? Am I welcomed to relate? Okay, good. Oh, that feels so good. See? But it's not going to stay forever. It's just a phase. So enjoy that phase, whilst it's also has these pros and cons, as they say. But the plus side outweighs it all.
Yes.
Right? Because you don't want to go back to live in a state of that closure.
Yes, of course.
Right? So knowing that also gives strength, gives confidence.